Hello, everyone. I am Leona Abraham Brando, and we have on with us Paul Ridikas. Paul is going to be talking today about the wrongful convictions. He is an advocate for the incarcerated individuals, wrongfully convicted and first time offenders serving life and life without parole. We'll also be talking about the addiction and the mental health issues in the United States that are not being addressed, and prisons are being used as the only alternative to these situations. So let's welcome Paul Ridikas. And Paul, are you on with us?
Yes,
Paul,
I
are you
am,
on with
Leona.
us?
I am on with yes, yes, Leona.
Okay,
I am on with all. Yes. Hey, everyone.
could you let the
Um,
audience?
I am Paul. My name is Paul Ridikas, and I wanted to share with some of you that prison systems have been very corrupt. It seems like, and it seems the prisoners are getting tormented too much. It seems that there's not enough transparency and there's not enough addressing from the prison. So that is why we're going to talk about this podcast today about shedding light on wrongfully convicted prisoners. Now, the wrongfully convicted prisoners have been falsely accused of something they did not do yet. And the thing is, these wrongfully convicted prisoners were sentenced falsely because they people thought they were the guilty ones when it turns out actually convicted ones should have been in prison, not the wrong convicted prisoners.
Now, Paul, have you worked with any or advocated for any prisoners that have been wrongfully convicted? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about the efforts that they have made to get help from Innocence Project or from other legal organizations or agencies on their wrongful convictions?
Yes, Leon, that
I
I
know
have
many have. I know.
experienced the wrongfully convicted. Yes, I have experienced wrongfully convicted prisoners that have shared their concerns to me where they have had Wi-Fi issues, where they've had strict guidelines in the cities. They never get to have enough fun in the prison cells. They see to experience a lot of see to experience a lot of mental health issues, and it seems it's more traumatizing for them because they're not getting enough support, and it seems they're being stuck, like they can't move forward with their lives because they're stuck in prison. And it seems the people I'm working with, it's sad for them, and they deserve a lot better in these facilities because they deserve a lot better. And it seems the prisoners that are wrongfully convicted have been excluded too much.
I saw recently on television the other night that there were quite a few wrongfully convicted that were exonerated. They were on a show, and many people know of Sean Ellis, and then there's Stephen Peener, and there's quite a few others that have been, uh, even in Missouri, Christopher Dunn, who was in prison for years on a crime he didn't commit. But you're right, these things are happening across the country, and something needs to be done. And a lot of these people that have been released, that have been exonerated, I really hope and pray that they will get more involved in coming on podcasts like these, coming on these radio shows, going on television. And they're actually going to be working with the younger people as well to talk about some of their experiences and what they went through. But as you say, a lot of these people wrongfully convicted, they're not getting the help. And unfortunately, Barry Shecks are not quite, there's not a lot of Barry Shecks in the communities these days. And the one that started this whole thing was Barry Sheck. And they are so overwhelmed, the Innocence Project. But there are other projects out there for innocent people. But there's just not enough. And a lot of people, as you say, Paul, are incarcerated on wrongful convictions without any hope for freedom at this time. People in the
Yeah.
communities need to
So
know
yeah,
that a lot of these prisons,
seems-
the incarcerated, a lot of these incarcerated individuals were victims before becoming offenders, and a lot of them were sentenced to harsh sentencing without committing a crime, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, the right time, or whatever.
you're absolutely
So your
right,
thoughts, Paul?
Leota, because yeah. So my thoughts, Leota, I agree with you that there have been a lot of wrongfully convicted prisoners across the country, not just in Massachusetts, but other states as well. And I just feel bad for these wrongfully convicted prisoners. And like you said, that Barry person that founded all this, it seems he's responsible for the cause of all these tortures and torment for these wrongfully convicted prisoners. Maybe there should be prison reform bills, which I think they're starting to hopefully address that at the state house or
I have
anywhere
to
in the White House, hopefully.
I have to disagree with you, Paul, on Barry Scheck. Barry Scheck was instrumental in getting wrongfully convicted released. The unfortunate thing is Barry Scheck, there's not enough of them. And Barry Scheck overwhelmingly started the Innocence Project. And they couldn't take on, I mean, they can't take on the
Oh, he
whole
did. Yes,
nation.
right. You're right. Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
He
Yes. But I
he cannot
apologize.
take on the
So yeah, this very person seems to be like the founder where he wants to help the wrongfully convicted people. Yes. I didn't.
he's helped,
I little bit of confusion. My apologies. Um.
yeah,
So the Barry
he's helped
person
thousands.
seems to be the founder of these project going to be were funded to make sure that the wrongfully convicted felons would get help, and it seems to me that they're not getting pro bono lawyers enough, and I have tried to send them resources for a pro bono lawyer, and it seems that it's harder because it's harder to connect, it seems like, for them. And Barry, I think, does a great job helping these people that are suffering in these prison cells because we want to make sure that he will make sure that these prisoners will be rescued from stuck in the prison cells longer. And it seems that we want to make sure these wrongfully convicted prisoners will be shorter, not longer, because if it's someone who's wrongfully convicted, they shouldn't wait that long in prison cells. But I am very proud of what Barry does for these prisoners. I mean, don't get me wrong, he is, I think, a great founder to help these prisoners who are wrongfully convicted. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, Barry Scheck is quite old now. I don't even know if he's still with or in the Innocence Project, but he has many people, many lawyers in the Innocence Project that are helping prisoners. Again, the problem is it's just overwhelming. There's so many people incarcerated who are wrongfully convicted, and there's not enough lawyers to help with the exonerations, unless they're, of course, paid lawyers as well. But Innocence Project is a project that has been doing it for years, and they haven't charged the prisoners. But unfortunately, these are the things that happen. I want to say another thing
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
with the with large corporations around the country making all kinds of money off of incarcerated individuals. These Department of Corrections around the country, they want to keep these prisons full because when large corporations profit off of prisoners, the DOC, the Department of Corrections, also profits. Unfortunately, this is a problem we have in this country. They have contracted medical and psychological providers in the prison, and these providers These contracted providers are the cheapest contracted providers the DOC, the Department of Corrections, accepts. So when you have the cheapest contracted providers, you're going to get the cheapest professional and experienced people that are advocating and that are helping the mentally ill and the addicted. You're going to get these people, and many of them have taken the confidentiality of the prisoners that are meeting with them, that are going to them for help, and they're sharing them with the correctional officers or with prison officials. This is clear injustice because prisoners are afraid to get the help from the mental health providers in the prisons when they know their information is being shared. So when we talk about the incarcerated, we're talking about with medical and psychological, we're talking about not only the wrongfully convicted, but any prisoner, first time offenders and more. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, there needs to be more help out there for the wrongfully convicted. There needs to be more Barry checks. There needs to be more innocence projects to help these people. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see auditing and oversight in all of these organizations, these nonprofits that allege to help the wrongfully convicted or allege to help people suffering from civil rights violations. I'd like to see more monitoring. You're talking transparency in the prisons, Paul, but I think transparency needs to go beyond the prisons. I think it needs to go to a lot of these websites, these people, law, pro bono or otherwise. They need to go to these websites. They need to review what they have on their websites. And when their prisoners are turned down, these people that are auditing or monitoring need to be informed because what's on the websites of many of these places is not being done. They're getting all kinds of funding to do a job that they're not really doing. And that includes, I'm sure, a lot of these places and websites for the wrongfully convicted. What are your thoughts on that, Paul?
Yeah, well, Leona, I could agree with you more about that because there needs to be more addressing on that, and we sure that it has to be addressed more. And first time offenders, yeah, but they were wrongfully convicted. Even if it's a offender, I feel it should not be a first time offender if it's someone who's wrongfully convicted. They have to like make an appeal to the judge or the Department of Corrections if they're willing to listen to them and say, "Hi, I this prisoner was falsely accused. They did not really do this commitment of crime." Something like that. And then maybe they would say, "Oh, okay, I see evidence that they did not commit a crime. They can not be sentenced and just live their life instead of them punishing them for something they did not do." Offenders, it seems that they have been traumatized by all this stress that's been going on in society, and it seems that they've been through so much trauma that the people that are suffering not just mentally but physically in society and in prison cells because it seems that the Department of Corrections is not cooperating with these wrongfully convicted prisoners because it seems that they mistreat them like a real convicted felon. And they should not do that because the Department of Corrections can do a much better job treating the wrongfully convicted prisoners. They should treat them like understanding and grace more. And it seems they treat the prisoner like a real time felon, not a wrong time felon. And I wish they could do a lot better on. As you said, Leona, like they deserve like they deserve to have more awareness of what has been happening with these prisons. I think at some point the Department of Corrections ability for their actions toward these prisoners because I feel bad for these wrongfully convicted felons. And even for first time offenders, it's very hard for them to cope with it, and it's challenging for these people. So maybe there has to be some like accountability for the Department of Correction where they need to do better on treating these prisoners correctly. What are your thoughts on that, Leona?
I have been pushing, and I know other advocates have been pushing for the department, for the governors to create an independent oversight committee to go into these prisons, to be available to do these check-ins with these prisons. And I think these and I say this all the time, I think that an independent oversight committee should consist of social workers, should consist of a lawyer, should consist of a retired judge, should consist of mental health worker, of a substance abuse counselor. I believe it should consist of at least 7 to 10 people, professionals in those different areas. Because first of all, a lot of these prisoners, again, afraid to go for mental health, to go to the mental health worker, because it's been known that the mental health workers in the prisons have shared personal and private information that they have gotten from the incarcerated individual with the correctional officers. So a lot of these prisoners are even afraid to go for mental health, to go to a counselor in the prison. Then we have prisoners who are being targeted and denied educational programs. They have a lot of educational programs, but this is another concern that has been brought out by so many people, that these prisoners are being denied educational programs. They're denied vocational programs. So they need to have people in this committee, the oversight committee, of different areas of the prison reform, different areas of rehabilitation, to be able to come together and to be able to monitor, to oversee the overseers in the prisons. I really strongly believe that they need to have an independent committee to even do psychological evaluations, because what they do is they will diagnose somebody with a mental health issue, but they will not allow that person or those people, the American Disability Act will not allow those people to be able to have housing conditions according to their disabilities. These are also issues. But as you say, there needs to be oversight in the prisons. And I don't recommend that people vote or even try to get oversight by people internally. It needs to be from the outside, professionals from the outside, to go in, to be this monitoring, to monitor what's going on behind those prison walls. I want to
Yeah,
say something else too.
exactly. Because go
The
ahead.
reason
Yeah,
I
go
say I want to
ahead by
say
all means.
what I need to say is because this has happened in the legislature, the politicians have completely ignored these things. What's happened is people in prison, they get put in solitary confinement, or now they call it the behavioral unit, the behavioral assessment unit, the same as solitary confinement. They put these people in solitary confinement, and then they write hundreds and hundreds of disciplinary reports while they're in solitary, disciplinary reports that don't even make sense. Prisoners have been known to be accused of murder while they're in solitary. They've been accused of being making threats. They've been accused of all of these different things that make them look bad, so that they can be sent to the maximum prisons, so that they can be labeled as the most violent, even when they have a history of being uh, perfect, no problems at all throughout the years in prison. But the thing is, with the prison, with the people in prison, the superintendents, even the commissioner, and all the prison officials, not all of them. There's good ones and there's bad ones, like I say with everyone. But a lot of these prisoners they're being provoked to doing something wrong, which has happened even in prisons, maximum secure prisons in Massachusetts and elsewhere. They're provoked to the point where once they get out of control, these groups get out of control, then all of a sudden, if there's a riot or something major happens, they're quick to say that they need to be more harsh on prisoners. because of these things. This is their way of keeping the funding. This is their way of keeping the prisons open so that these big corporations continue to make all kinds of money on them. But there's so much injustice behind the prison walls that are being ignored by our legislative members. Politicians, they're now, some of them are going into the prisons and they're visiting general population, but they fail to go to the most important places of all. They fail to go to the solitary confinement units where these people are being hidden away from the public. They're being hidden away from everyone, so no one can know what really is going on behind those prison walls.
Yes, you are very correct. And it seems for what you have just shared, Leona, in terms of the prison, the maximum security prisons, I feel there needs to be mental health workers and clinicians involved. And if the Department of Corrections workers are trying to be very treat them poorly, maybe there could be a cop involved to make sure they're behaving well. And maybe also, I think for resources for prisoners who are wrongfully convicted, they could have like therapy programs at the prison cell. Maybe also like helping like a trauma healing service to help them heal. Because it seems like they're not getting enough help in there. And it seems if they misbehave once, it's like they're being provoked, like getting a rise out of someone. It's like they're getting a rise from somebody. It's like they're bullying them. It's like once someone provokes a prisoner, it seems they're getting a rise out of that specific prisoner. And it seems the group is helping the victim out. And it's like they're going after that whoever provoked the prisoner, and it seems the victim is getting punished instead of the suspect being punished. I think it should be the other way, where if someone's provoking the victim, they should be punished, not the prisoner that's being provoked, because it's called accountability. The mental health workers and clinicians can help them like cope their emotions and relax before things get in these prison facilities across the country. So that way, these wrongfully convicted prisoners can mentally heal and actually physically heal because there's more involvement. There was more involvement with the staff and the mental health worker clinicians and maybe the police officers could show like more security in these prison cells because it seems the Department of Corrections are hiding that truth from everybody. But it seems maybe with more experts that are willing to go in these prison facilities, they can investigate what's going on and maybe document what's going on so they can maybe hopefully share it to the public so people can know, oh, the Department of Corrections can be corrupt, change this attitude on how they can act towards these people. And I just feel very bad for these prisoners that are the prisoners who are wrongfully convicted. It's traumatizing for them, and with those resources that I mentioned, I think it could make a positive impact on their mental and physical life in prison.
I find the problem is with wrongfully convicted is proving. That's the sad thing about it. A lot of them have to prove their innocence. And a lot of times people are caught up in the wrong places at the wrong time or whatever, but a lot of times they can't prove their innocence. And I think that might have a lot to do with the difficulty they have getting representation. But again, if they got a good lawyer that was really able to have someone in their firm investigate, I'm sure that they could find some kind of DNA or some kind of thing that might help them to prove their innocence. But again, I want you to know too, these these people in prison, regardless of what they're in for, regardless of first time offenders or wrongfully convicted, if and with the United States of America being the only country in the entire planet with mass incarceration, that should tell people something. One of the things I want to say is even with what goes on with the governors, because the governors, the constituency, they will help prisoners. But I remember, and there was a time when a call was made to the governor's office when everything stopped. Everything stopped. It was made by a superintendent at a prison to call the governor, made a call to the governor. People wonder when these things happen, what is the governor all about? You know? And right now, governors can make a big difference in the way prisons are run. They can make a big difference in the way the improvements are, prison reform. They can make a big difference in whether these people incarcerated commit suicide or not, because we also have in this country a high rates of suicides in the prisons. A lot of these people, wrongfully convicted first time offender, a lot of these people cannot take it. They just cannot take the fact that they're serving life and life without parole sentencing for either crimes they didn't commit or crimes they may have committed at a very psychological disadvantage. A lot of these people that have committed crimes are first time offenders. And you know what makes me feel really bad is, I don't know if you watch the news, but there have been a lot of people who are in prison right now for killing their parent or their parents. And I'm sure when they came out of it, whatever they were going through, whatever psychological or whatever it was that they were going through, I'm sure that they're going to be broken people, broken souls. They're going to need all the mental health treatment that they can get. But instead of even considering the mental health part of it, when they get in courts, they get sentenced to life and life without parole. They get sentenced without even people on the outside considering the fact about the mental illnesses that we have in this country. Look at the leadership right now of this country. Right now, we're at such a dysfunctional moment globally because of all of this. And so we have to look at the prisons, what's going on in the prisons, and we have to look at the corruption that goes on, because there's a lot of corruption in the prisons today, a lot of corruptions, and there's a lot of false, bogus disciplinary reports. I've been a social worker for 45 years. I've been a prisoner advocate for 27 years, and I know each and every organization out there that has denied prisoners. Some of these people that have started these organizations have family members and friends in prison that they have gotten out, and yet they're depriving everybody else's prisoners, or whatever the case may be, they're denying them the service. We have lawyers connected. The police are not the only ones that call their peers their brotherhood. There's brotherhood in the law. I could call social workers brotherhood, because they're working in the same field, but they don't realize how many people have gone to prison. Police officers have gone to prison. Correctional officers have gone to prison. And then where's that brotherhood? Once they go to prison, that brotherhood breaks. So these cliques that they get into are just cliques. That's all they are. And unfortunately, because they are in these cliques, they're letting the bad guys make the good guys look so bad. There are good correctional officers on Facebook one time. There was a guard that said he was not like the others that were doing all this corrupt actions. And some man responded saying, if you are the good one and you're not reporting your bad peers, you're part of the problem too. And that's exactly true. So when you want to disclose or expose the corruption in this country, oh, there's so much of it, you wouldn't know where to begin. People, all they need to do is go on the internet and type in whatever. Drugs brought in by guards. People, prisoners beaten by prison officials and guards. There was a prisoner in Florida scalded to death. A prisoner in Georgia eaten alive by bedbugs. How much can people see and read and know about and think that all these people in authority are angels, are saints, that they're not capable of committing criminal acts? People have to become aware. And I think that's why, Paul, I want to thank you for talking about these things, because it has to come out. It has to be exposed. And I know that you've been working with...
It does have to be exposed. You're absolutely right. Truth has to be... The truth, Leo, has to come. at some point.
It does.
It's like they don't
But
even care about what's going on. It's people that are suffering. They just leave them in the dust like there's no tomorrow. It's like they don't care about the prisoner that suffered there in Florida or Georgia. And I feel bad for those prisoners in Florida or Georgia. It it should be acknowledged on the news more everywhere, not just in our state, but everywhere, so that more people will know the truth of what's really going on with these wrongly prisoners. And it's a lot of corruption in this country. Yes, there is. Not just from the White House, but everywhere it seems like, because corruption in prisons, and the prison
ex-
seems corrupt because it seems like confidence, or maybe they've just been verbally abused, or they're afraid to stand up for themselves, which I could definitely understand that, because I admit I struggle standing up for myself as well, and I feel bad for them. And the fact is that these wrongfully convicted prisoners were falsely accused because they see that they were the victims of being bullied, and they used to be victims of bullying. And I admit that I have been a victim of bullying myself for too long. And when I have been bullied that much, it has me. But I could use this to help others who are in need for it, because what these are dealing with is very bad. I mean, yes, you're right. It should be on the news. What is going on with these prisoners hasn't been acknowledged yet. It's like they want to hide the truth, and all they want to do is keep them locked away. Like nothing happened. Like pretend they think they're so innocent, when in reality they're the bad guy, and not the victims, because it's like they want to manipulate the system, it seems like, and want to use them for their own personal gain, not for the people. What are your thoughts?
you made me realize I wanted to bring this up too because I really feel bad for this police officer. She is a chief of police in Stoughton, Massachusetts, and they're trying to get rid of her. Now, this woman, and I hate to say it, but when there's good people in politics, or there's good people on the police force, or wherever the case may be, the good ones always seem to be the ones that they try to get rid of. They try to get rid of them because they know that they're good. And this woman, her name is Chief, I think it's Chief, let me just see what it is, McNamara or Mac, let me just see. And she was instrumental in bringing out the injustice that was done to a Sandra Burkhoff. Sandra was a teenager when the police got involved with her, and one of them got her pregnant. She was like 13 years old when they started, and it wasn't just one police officer, it was more. But when they started to to train her, or refreshing her, whatever they call it, when they try to get her, to be their regular, she got pregnant. And the police officer that thought it was his child, he killed her. And he tried to stage it like a suicide. He tried to stage it like a suicide. And this chief of police was instrumental in bringing justice to that girl, in addition to the girl's friends and people that kept it going. Because had it been just for the police, it would never have gone any further. So now they're trying to get rid of this. Her name is Chief Donna McNamara. Chief Donna McNamara needs to be, she needs to be acknowledged, and she needs to be awarded for the good that she did and the justice that she prevailed for that girl. They're trying to get rid of her, which is sad. because the good ones, the good police officers, the good correctional officers, the good prison officials, they want to get rid of them. And a lot of people, it was on the news the other day, she's getting a lot of support from people in the communities because they know she was good. And I think if prison officials and prison guards were doing just as much good, they would get a lot of support. Now, I don't know if you remember, Paul, when I interviewed Donald J. Vodka. Donald J. Vodka was a 14-year correctional officer at one of the biggest prisons in California. And he exposed his peers for the corruption, for the abuses, for the drugs. And he wrote a book, and it's called The Green Wall, for anyone that wants to go on and buy it. The Green Wall. Donald J. Vodka is the hero that they should be talking about. When they talk about a lot of this, saving a cat is good, but saving people is good. But I don't consider that the person saving. I believe that's God working through that person to save. And just with Donald J. Vodka, the same thing. By his exposure, he brought a lot of awareness of the injustices that go on behind these prison walls. So if you want to expose, Paul, these are the people that you want to connect with. And these are the people you want to let them know that you want to expose and get their help as well. They actually wanted to do some kind of a movie or documentary on Donald J. Vodka. And Donald J. Vodka can be found on the internet. Now that's what you call sincere. A correctional officer is going to expose the injustices. I had a very good friend. She's a psychiatric nurse, worked in a prison. She got along with the guards and everything else until she saw the abuses that were going on, and she spoke up. When she spoke up, every one of them stopped associating. She ended up leaving. But this was a psychiatric nurse. Well, you have some mental health providers right here in Massachusetts and elsewhere who not only will misdiagnose or intentionally or share the information, the prisoner's information, with other correctional officers and other people in the prison. That's corruption as far as I'm concerned. That is corruption. Now, you've talked to a lot of the clients that you work with, Paul. Have any of your clients ever talked about, without names, have any of your clients ever talked about what they're going through behind those prison walls by staff?
Yes, Leona, they absolutely have. They have shared my concerns to me that they have been going through difficulties with technical issues. You happen from a staff in the prison walls. Those clients I work with have shared my concerns to me on what they're going through on a daily basis in the prison cells that they're in. And I feel bad for them that much because they just better sympathy. And it seems what I have witnessed, prison seems to be like a torture, and it seems to be a challenging, difficult place to go because no wonder why prison convicts felons, because prison or jail seems to be a location where it would cause a lot of trauma and a lot of negative consequences for the individual's actions while they were active in society. But when it comes to convicted prisoners, on the other hand, it seems it's the same result as the right convicted prisoners. And it should be like that. Like the clients that I have worked with who are wrongfully convicted, they share what they're feeling, and sometimes they share how they're feeling, what's going on in the cells. It's like they want to share their concerns to me to hopefully share it to other people who want to make a change. That way we can make a people that are suffering there. And it's very frustrating that there's suffering there, but at the same time, I am proud that they are sharing their concerns to me. It's called showing transparency. And it seems they are more transparent for those prisoners than the correctional officers and the other people. It seems the prisoners that I work with are more transparent for me than the other people. But it's been crazy what's going on in those prison cells. Now I understand why the justice system is that serious and strict.
They try to prevent the information from getting out. And when a prisoner or when prisoners trust you enough to be able to confide in you, to be able to tell you that they need help in these areas, they have to know that you're really trying to advocate for them. And if the prison staff were as honest and were as compassionate or attentive to these things, I think the prisoners would be able to open up to them more. But I just think what's happening right now is it needs to be there's a lot that needs to be investigated. And until there's an investigation, which another thing is when they have their internal investigations, I understand from prisoners throughout that when they have the internal investigations, they're having their own investigate themselves. And that's why the truth doesn't come out as well.
Well, thankfully,
That's what
Leona, this is why the truth here will finally be revealed and finally exposed for what is going on in the prison system. And I think this will really help finally address the truth about the Department of Corrections and for the victims that are suffering these prison cells who are wrongfully convicted. And don't get me wrong, I feel very bad for these wrongfully convicted prisoners. I mean, they didn't intend to do these. It seems that there are specific people like they want to just throw it in their face and make sure that they get sent into prison because of maybe their mistakes or because of miscommunication behavior, anything else. But still, it is insane what I've seen from those prison facilities. Prison is not a game. It is a serious, serious place to for those who are in prison and those who are going to be in prison, which is mind blowing. But it could do a better job for the Department of Correction altogether.
exactly. Exactly. There's just so much injustice is pathetic. There was a prisoner in 2011 who was stripped, shackled, and physically forced into a cell with another prisoner, knowing that this prisoner cannot be or could not be double celled because the prisoner was traumatized as a child, was never able to be double celled. And yet, in 2011, they stripped him, shackled him, and physically forced him into a cell with another. He blacks out. He fights this prisoner immediately. They had to remove him because he went off on this prisoner. They and he ended up maintaining the single cell for 15 years after that or more. But when he got sent to another prison, and he got involved in programs, he got involved in groups, he was doing really well. They didn't want that. So all of a sudden they tried to force him to double cell. But he remembered what happened in 2011, so he refused to double cell. They put him in solitary confinement for a year. He lost out on that educational program. They wrote him over 100 disciplinary reports. Now, while in solitary, disciplinary reports accusing him of murdering another prisoner, accusing him of threatening to murder a prisoner if they double cell, all these things. When he appealed it, it was all dismissed, but it still is on his record. It's still on his record, so it'll always be on his record, even though it was dismissed. So trying to get a lawyer to help to get it off the list has been impossible. trying to get help from a lot of these like prisoner legal services and CPCS and all these legal agencies to help him. None of them have helped. So now this is somebody that has never had any problems in prison, had all these things on their classification documents, on their documents. All of it. Because of something that happened 2011, which they won't talk about other than the fact that he beat somebody up in 2011, but they won't tell the situation what caused it. So a lot of times these things, when these people are in solitary confinement, they're being accused of all kinds of things. And because we have such an educated government of so many experts that cannot see beyond their nose what these things that these people are going through, it will continue. The abuses will continue, the torment, the tortures, the bogus reports, the disciplinary reports, until they have an innocent person or a first-time offender's record looking like they're the most violent person in the world, so that they will never get a chance to get out. These are things that go on in the prisons, and these are why they do it. They will make the individuals look as bad as they can by coming up with all these lying, bogus reports. Our politicians know, they know about a situation with the prisoner that all of these things have happened to. But they are too coward-like to speak out, just like everybody talks about the leadership in this nation. But these politicians are too afraid. They don't have the courage to do the job that they're getting paid for, the job that we all elect them to do. And that is to bring about justice. They can take you, Paul.
Right.
They could
As I
they could
say,
take me. They could take you, or they could take me, and they could start all these. They could. Okay, there's a prisoner. He's not from the country. They deported him. They deported him before he had a chance to tell his story. He was a college student in
right,
Texas.
but hold on. I was just gonna say this. There is a saying that I heard one time that I think was very interesting. Whatever we bring justice to the enemies, or bring justice, or where justice brings to our enemies, justice will be done, no matter what the circumstance is.
Okay, can you repeat that?
Yeah. There is a saying that I heard in a very important line. It goes, whatever we bring our justice to our enemies, or bring enemies to our justice, justice will be no matter what the circumstance is.
Now, can you clarify that, because it's very confusing to me.
Oh, it
If
is
you bring
confusing.
the
It's
enemy,
just that, like for those who want to mess with the wrong people, it's a phrase that if anyone who wants to mess with the wrong people, and if anyone who likes to torment the people that were the victim, and for people who want to make them suffer, the justice or will be done onto those people that have caused the harm.
okay, karma,
That's
yes.
what it means. Karma can be very, very powerful. And justice too.
I think eventually justice will prevail in a lot of these situations, thousands and thousands of these situations, because, and I want to go back to, you're talking wrongfully convicted. This individual was a college student in Texas, and he was set up by the police in Texas. He went to prison for 22 years for a crime he didn't commit. And just before he was supposed to be released, they deported him back to his country so that he would never be able to tell his story. He's still trying to find justice, and this is after years. And he's written a book, which he's trying to get published now. But he's also trying to get a hold of the consulate of his country to try to help him because he wants to get his story out so that he will be his situation, his crime, alleged crime, will come out in the open to be false. And I'm sure if it happened to this person in another country, I'm sure it can happen to the people of this country, and it has to so many thousands and thousands of individuals, either first-time offenders or
It's
first-time.
very tragic what they're dealing with.
It
Yeah.
is. You know, this is America. And it's sad that we are the only country in the world with mass incarceration when other countries do not have mass incarceration, nowhere near
Very,
it.
very tragic what
Paul, we're having trouble
these
hearing
people are
you. Something is
dealing
we're having we're having
with
trouble hearing you.
because it's
Paul, can you hear me? Okay, we're having trouble hearing him. He's having
all
problems
right.
at his end.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes.
All right, good. All right, go
Paul?
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you were talking and all of a sudden you
Yes,
went
Leona.
quiet. Okay, you can finish what you were saying.
Yeah, all right. So anyways, yeah. What happened is it seems the wrongfully convicted people are being tortured. It seems the people who are getting deported, it's like they don't have like being harassed and imitated. It's like they're feeling threatened and their safety seems very threatened. And it's like this is not normal. That should be addressed as well. It's like I feel really bad for these people. It's like playing the game of chess or something, playing the game of escape, or the game of like it's so horrible what they're dealing with. It's like they're being targeted and being provoked every day for what these people are dealing with.
You said it
And I feel
targeted.
bad for them. Target being like they feel they're being like, you know how sometimes people are out to get somebody? That's how these
That's it,
people
the targeted.
feel. They are they mean targeting like, oh no, they're out to get this person. They target them, like going after them. Like target meaning, oh shoot, this person's out to
We
get
know,
this prisoner.
we know what targeting means. And I'll tell you, prisoners have actually said that they have tried to stay out of the spotlight on correctional officers, on prison officials. They've tried, many prisoners, whether people know it or not, many people incarcerated, they spend a lot of time in their cell. They don't want to go out of their cell because of the provocations by prison officials and correctional officers. A lot of times other prisoners too. But the majority of these prisoners are actually just don't want to deal with the guards. They don't want to deal with the officials. And despite what the prison officials say when there's a riot, despite what the correctional officers say, a lot of these prisoners are justified in having their concern to try to stay away from guards and stay away from prison officials. And when prisoners cry out for help to the Attorney General's office, the Civil Rights Division director, the governor's office, whenever they cry out, there's a reason, and there's a need for them to start doing some investigating into these prisons. I see these people at the football games, the sports game, getting out there. Look at opening the bars until 3 in the morning, as though we don't have enough problems already with the drunken drivers, the one-way drivers, and for a governor and for others to approve leaving bars open until 3 in the morning when they should be closing them at midnight. I don't know what's wrong with our government, but I'm telling you, as you said, Paul, karma is a bummer. And someday, all these people that are enjoying their freedom, enjoying making lives miserable for wrongfully convicted, for first-time offenders, for anybody. Karma is a big thing, and it's going to happen because so many people have died in prison
Only,
committing suicide.
only to those who have tortured the wrongfully. Exactly.
Not only torturing the wrongfully convicted, torturing anybody. When people go to prison, they go to prison because they committed a crime, they were found guilty, and they were sent to prison. Okay, once they get behind those prison walls, there's no need to punish anybody any further. They've already lost their freedom. They've already been separated from their families, whether they're wrongfully convicted or not. Because we have to look at not only wrongfully convicted, but we have to look at the prisoners, first-time offenders, or even others who have mental illnesses, who have psychological problems that have not been resolved. Instead of the prisons rehabilitating these people, they're making them worse. How many people, look at the recidivism rate in the United States of America is outrageous. Other countries are laughing at the recidivism rate in this country. It's ridiculous. So yes, we can feel for the wrongfully convicted, but we also have to look at the abused, the tormented. You mentioned it in the beginning of the show, torturing and tormenting prisoners. Only criminal people, only criminal overseers can be doing something like that. They may be human beings, or they may be in power with uniforms and titles, but they're still human beings, and they're capable of as much crime, if not worse, than some of these people incarcerated. Now, we have 5 more minutes left, so if there's anything you want to add to what we've already talked about, Paul, please feel free to do so.
Yes, of course, Leota. So I wanted to share with some of you that for those who are late, I am here for you, and I'll be prayed for all of you because you deserve better. And I have been a victim of bullying myself. However, to those who are listening, I hope that you understand that you all deserve to have a voice be heard, and you deserve so much better in the world for those who have been wrongfully convicted. And I am sorry for those who are dealing with this in prison facilities. We are here for you, and we really care about you that much. And I'm sorry you're going through all this torture that's been through so much bitterness and misery for these years that some of you have suffered in these prison cells. I am hoping that things will get a lot better for these people who are suffering too much in these cells, and for the people who have been victims of bullying. To those who are willing to try to stand up for themselves, use this as a documentation what you're going through, and use that documentation to stand up truth for others that don't have for it. Try to share a voice that would be revealed, and the truth will be setting all of you free, because I have seen the truth of what's been really going on in the prisons, and this really has helped me be aware of how the justice system and the Department of Court are. I'm not here to trash anyone, but I am just to help others who are in desperate need of help. I really want all of you to make sure that we want you to succeed, and we want you to overcome these challenges every day. So we just hope want to be in your thoughts, because we care about you that much, and we want you to do well. And the fact is, we want you to succeed in life. We don't want you to fail anymore. Get out of that cell and succeed just like everybody else is. Praying for those people who are suffering those prison cells to rejoice in the good times, even if things are hard right now. Pray that they will rejoice in the good time, even if it's hard right now. But that right there will be my thoughts to share that these prisoners deserve a lot better, and wrongfully convicted prisoners deserve a lot better. And the conclusion for it is wrongfully convicted prisoners deserve better, and they do not deserve to be mistreated poorly. They deserve to be treated fairly overall, because the Department of Corrections wake up and smell the coffee that these wrongfully convicted prisoners deserve better treatment for resources in other places,
Okay,
especially
before
the
we close,
prisons.
and Paul, thank you. But what you're saying to the prisoners, let's hope that the audience will relay that to prisoners, because the prisoners are not hearing what you're saying, and unfortunately, I wish they could. But let's have ask the audience if any of you can contact a prisoner, or if you have family, friends, or whoever you might know that has a prisoner incarcerated. But I also want to bring up, if anyone and everyone wants to know more about the prison system, it's called Inmate Author Project.org. Again, it's Inmate Author Project.org. And this is a newsletter that they put out. And this one came to us recently. And it says, Prison restricts indigent legal mail. Prisons in Massachusetts and nationwide allow for free postage for indigent inmates. But recently, prison officials have labored to deny, hinder, and restrict this essential entitlement. At Susan Baranowski Correctional Center, for example, mailroom officials are returning mail being sent to lawyers or others not considered court officers. Rules governing free indigent mail are clear. Indigent inmates shall be permitted to mail 3 letters each week. These free letters must weigh 1 ounce, but free indigent mail to any court official is unrestricted. Prisoners shall be able to mail as often and any weight as necessary. A source 103 CMR 481.09 rules governing indigent legal mail. Prison authorities have been targeting inmates since 2017. For a decade, authorities have been restricting mail, phone calls, visits, and most access to the public, press, courts, and legislature. The watershed moment was the suicide of high-profile inmate Aaron Hernandez, the disgraced, notorious New England Patriots football player who was alleged to have killed himself in Susan Baranowski in 2017. An autopsy showed he consumed Suboxone and K2, both synthetic drugs, are excessively available behind bars. Where do they come from? Guess. In an effort to abate the drug crisis behind bars and avoid political embarrassment, prison officials targeted first-class mail delivery and further restricted contact visits. Phone calls were routinely monitored, and greater enforcement of smuggling and introduction was introduced. Only legal mail remained untouched. Privileged legal mail quickly became a source for introduction of synthetic drugs into these guarded institutions. Today in Massachusetts, legal mail is being severely restricted. The mailroom in Susan Baranowski Correctional Center no longer considers private lawyers to be court officials, and free indigent mail is not being allowed. In an effort to limit incarcerated people from filing lawsuits or using indigent legal mail, the mailroom is enforcing rules governing who is and who is not indigent. To be indigent in Massachusetts prisons, an inmate must have less than $10 for 60 days. So friends and loved ones can't send money for hygiene, for example, without jeopardizing the inmate's indigent status. Furthermore, mail is routinely returned if it's overweight or not sent to a court official. Voices are not allowed to escape from Massachusetts prisons, and access to lawyers is being severely restricted. Prisoner legal services and other pro bono legal aid agencies are not considered court officials. Recently, I sent a motion seeking judicial notice and relief for abuses of legal mail processed to the Middlesex Superior Court. In my case, Charles N. Diorio versus Stephen Kennedy, Superintendent of Susan Baranowski et al. docket 2681 CV 01239. Although there is little hope the courts can or will do anything about this far-reaching problem, authoritarianism is a local problem. It is a sad shame that progressive politics in Commonwealth end at the prison gate. Author Charles Diorio welcomes comments to this and all newsletter submissions. Please contact Charles Diorio, Diorio, inmate number W103769, via Correlings.com. All comments are respected. This is an author, a prisoner who is the author of inmateauthorproject.org. To find out anything you want to find out about the injustices in Massachusetts prisons and what's going on right now at Susan Baranowski Correctional Center. These are some of the things that go on that prisoners at one time were abused, are afraid to speak out. The abuse has gotten so bad that prisoners around the country are now starting to speak out. And if we don't hear them and if we don't act on what they're saying, suicides are going to increase, prisons riots are going to increase, and so many other things are going to be happening. So we, the people in the communities, are the only ones that these prisoners can depend on for help. Again, we have to realize that although we look at the prisoners, the victims on the outside, and those who have caused wrongful convictions, as well as first-time offenses, we have to look at these people. We have to help these individuals that are incarcerated. We need to get the word out to the legislative members that they need to go into the prisons and meet with the prisoners directly, especially those in solitary confinement or on restricted blocks, those that are being hidden away from the public. We have to do that, or we're part of the problem. We're part of the causes of suicide. The Psychological Association, American Psychological Association, Department of Mental Health, they need to speak out more. You don't hear anything from them. Knowing that we have a problem in this country with mental illnesses, we don't hear anything from the Department of Mental Health or the American Psychological or Psychiatric Association. What does that tell you? So please try to find out more. Go on the internet, research what the guards, correctional officers, superintendents, commissioner, governor, what they're all about. Paul, is that your phone? So audience, we're going to end this episode now, and thank you.
What I just got it off. Sorry, Leora. Go ahead.
No, we're finished. Thank you, audience, for listening in. Thank you, Paul, for being on, and I hope everyone has gotten something out of this to know that it's not always about the incarcerated that are causing the problem, that are part of the problem.